Ruvain.
How are you, Rabbi
Talking
Green?
about this. Just wishing you all a refuah shlema. All the guys here, refuah shlema.
Thank you.
Okay.
Ask him if he's gonna show up today.
Your friend here, your Baal Plugta wants to know if you're going to show up today for learning.
We'll learn on the phone.
Okay, sounds
And-
good.
And I plan to come to the CM.
Okay, that is. Okay, Mal, you hear that? Ruvain says he's planning. Your wife too, or just you?
Just me.
Ruvain. Nadarim is next.
Right.
So both of them are planning to come? No, just Ruvain, not his wife.
Susan's not coming?
That's what he just said.
Okay.
That's what he said. Welcome back, Harvey. Good to see you. For Shlema also.
Where is Marty been? Is Marty away?
Marty.
He was
is not well.
away. He came back and he had stenosis. No, is it stenosis?
Hopefully
Friday
not.
you were standing
Stenosis
learning?
is serious.
Right,
Very
yes.
painful. It's a back problem.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Stenosis is serious.
Yeah, he could not, he stood the whole shiur on Thursday.
I think it's just from the crowded, cramped, horribly uncomfortable airplane.
Well,
You got it for the play.
You don't
Yeah.
get stenosis.
but it's, okay. So let me start off with our learning sponsors, all right? Okay, and then we'll move on. Okay, a day of learning year of learning by friends of Nina Monester, Nechama Azna Bad Yitzchak Aharon. Many friends of Stephen Vigdor, Lezechen Nishmat, Simcha Melech, Meir Leib Halevi. Friends of Marcy Kurtz, in memory of a great niece, Leah Bracha. Isaac and Evelyn Blachler, in memory of his sister, Chaya Rachel Bas Isser. Friends of Leonie Meiselman, Leah Sabra Bas Chanok Zundel. A month of learning by Sam and Shifra Coleman, in memory of his mother, Sarah Rachel Bas Abraham. Ron and Susan Podolsky, in memory of his father, Tzvi Ben Pinchas. A week of learning by Judy and Ari Cohen, in memory of her mother, Hinda Bat Moshe Zachariah Halevi, and his mother, Fega Bas Yechiel. Chaim Aber, in memory of his wife, Esther Bas Yaakov. Manny Whitman, in memory of his wife, Chaya Sarah Bat Alta Yosef. Yesterday, we had the Day of Learning by Cherna Eugene Kowalski, in memory of their friend Milton Fried. Pauline Feldman, in memory of her husband, Yosef Ben Yehuda Leib. Today is the 23rd. We do not have any days of learning till the 26th, which actually will be Wednesday. Okay. Again, reminder, Wednesday is the Siyum, 4 o'clock at Century Grill. Okay, please let Bob or Mel know if you're going to be there. Okay. All right.
Is it true that we admonish people?
Admonish people?
Admon.
What?
Admon is an
Yeah,
Italian
yes, I saw
who
that.
who says that you make the guy pay or punish the daughter. So you admonish.
I'll only give you 2/3 of a pun for that.
I thought it was better.
Okay. Okay, I'd like us to start on Kafchet Amud Beis, the last line, okay, at the Mishnah. That's where we're gonna pick up. Okay, is there anybody else? Ted is here, right? Okay. Okay,
And we should welcome Heshi back.
and we did,
Where were you?
I was away.
yeah,
Where were you? Baltimore again?
Milwaukee and Baltimore.
yeah.
You were the David Chew's. So
Okay, All right, so our Mishnah starts off, okay, let me just point out, as I said to the group yesterday, we're going to get into a variety of cases, not all of them directly connected with Ksuba, okay? But all with legal issues, okay, given the situation. You found yours, all right? Yeah, okay. No, but, okay. All right, matnitin haposek me'ot lechatno. The father-in-law, okay, or intended father-in-law, agreed on to set an allowance amount of money for the dowry in this situation. Upashat lo et haregel, and he defaulted. Now, I will tell you, both Art Scroll and Koren have an extensive note on that phrase. Whichever Gemara you use, it's worth, I'm not going to go into it because, but it's worthwhile reading the note, what they suggest on what the phrase means in that situation. We Pashat et haregel. Okay. By the way, they still use that in modern Hebrew today for the same concept, that somebody went bankrupt or they defaulted on a payment. Yeah.
Gave him the boot.
Right. Okay. Well, the Koren's explanation at the end, after it gave Rashi's 2 explanations and Rabin's 3 explanations, throws out one in from Meiri to try to give us a colloquial parallel, kick the bucket. Okay. Okay.
The most interesting one is he disappears. He goes overseas.
Yeah. Okay, but it's worth it, if you're using Art Scroll, they have a note on it. If you if for some reason you want to look at Koren, they have a note on it. Either way, okay, that's the case. All right. So he basically defaulted. Okay. All right. And what happens? Right? He didn't meet the commitment. And so now we go to Koftet, which is today's.
This is also beautiful metaphor.
Right? Okay. So what happens? Says the Gemara now, we start in Koftet Amud Aleph, continuing the Mishnah. Teshev ad shel talbin rosha. Then the young woman, okay, who is betrothed or engaged or mikudeshet, remains in that status till her hair turns white. Okay, that's the implication. All right. Admon Omer says, Admon Yechola hi shetomar. It's possible that she might respond and say as follows: Ilu ani pasakti la'atzmi. Were it I that had set the amount of money for the dowry, right, on my own, a shave ad shel talbin rashi, I would sit until my hair turns white. In other words, I would wait, okay, till I had the money to be able to pay you to marry me for the dowry, right? Achshav she'aba pasak. But now that my father set that allowance amount, ma'ani yichola la'asot, what am I able to do? Okay, o kanos o p'tor. Either bring me into your household, in other words, marry me, or give me a get for the roots in the kedusha. Okay, so what happens? Amar Rabban Gamliel, and Rabban Gamliel says, Ro'ani et divrei Admon, that I look kindly, so to speak, on the words of Admon. Okay, now we get to our Gemara. Okay, what happens? Matnitin deloka haitana to Tanya. Our Mishnah cannot be according to the Tana, who taught as follows. Amar Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda. Says Rabbi Yossi in the name of Rabbi Yehuda, Lo nichlaku Admon b'chachamim, that Admon and the sages were not disagreeing. Al haposek me'ot lechatno. Okay, upashat lo haregel, on the status of a potential father-in-law that set an amount for the dowry, and then this was defaulted, went bankrupt, however translation way. Shechola hi shetomar. Why? Because it's possible for her to say, Abba pasak alai Ma'ani yichola lasot. My father was the one that set the amount for the dowry. What can I do? Al ma nechlatu. On what were Hanan and the sages disagreeing? Al shepaska hi al atzma. It was a situation when she was the one who set the dowry amount. Shechachamim umrim, because the sages say, teshev ad shetalbin rosha, that she should sit until her hair turns white. Admon omer, and Admon disagrees, saying, Yechola hi sheteomar, kisvura ani she'aba notein la. She could tell the future groom, I was under the impression that my father was going to give me the money, right? Vachshav she'ein abba notein alai, and now that my father is not willing to give me the money, ma'ani yechola lasot, what am I able to do? O knos, o patur. Either marry me, bring me into the household, or give me the get, and we'll break the erusin. Now, Amar Rabban Gamliel, and we see Rabban Gamliel says, Roeh ani et divrei Admon, that I look with favor on the words of Admon. Okay, now, having gotten this far, our Gemara goes on. We have a bright Tana, B'med Varim Amorim. What are we talking about here? Bigdola, are we talking about a woman who is, or a girl that's mature? In other words, more than 12 and a half, right? Aval b'ktana, kofin. But with a minor, we force him. Kofin laman. We force him what? Yes, okay? In other words, who's being forced here? Ilema la'av, if we're going to say we're going to force the father. Ipcham bayele. Okay, then the opposite should have been said. All right, namely, okay, if it's an adult girl, okay, then the question is, she as the adult has a certain legal responsibilities. Okay,
He does.
okay, well, all right, the father.
Yeah, when if even if you say it's the woman who made the commitment,
Okay,
if she's only 10 or 11 or
well, we're going to get to that. That's what it's going to say. That's why I said, if it's the adult woman, she herself has responsibility regarding the situation of the money. Ella Amar Rava, says Rava, Kofin leBaal retain get. No, if we're going to suggest, whoa, I'm sorry, I missed. Aval b'ketana, Kofin, we say, but with that, okay, so who do we force? So we say, Ilem la'av, if we're going to force the father, Ipchami bayale, the opposite is what we should be saying, or asking. Why? Because we said that the adult woman would have legal responsibility when she makes the commitment. Okay? Amar Rava says, Kofin labal mitain get. But nevertheless, when we say his suggestion is that we force the husband to give her a
or go through.
get. Okay? Now, Amar Rabbi Yitzchak ben Elazar, he says, Mishmei de Chizkiah, in the name of Chizkiah, again a new piece. Kom makom shamar Rabban Gamliel, any place where Rabban Gamliel has said in regards to the statement of Admon, Ani roeh et divrei Admon, I look with favor with the words of Admon, halacha kmoto, then the law is like him. Now, we might ask quickly, who's the him referred to here? We have to understand, and I think this is Tosafot who actually brings this, but the point is, the law is like the one who supports the view of Admon, okay? All right, and namely, we're talking about Rabban Gamliel, okay? The reason I want to bring this out here is because later on in our Gemara, we're going to have another phrase that's going to
There are
important.
7 Admons,
Right,
and
right,
he only agrees
right.
with 3.
Right, we'll get to that. Okay. Amar le Rava, says Rava le Rava Nachman. Afilu b'braita. Are we saying that that's the case even in regards to the braita that we just had above? Amar le, he said to him, Mika amrinan b'mishnah. Well, what are we talking about the Mishnah?
I say, mention.
Right? Did I say? All right. When I said that the law is like him, okay, where Rabban Gamliel supports Admon, that was in the Braita as well. So he did not refer to the Mishnah, he was referring to the Braita clearly. B'chol makom she'amar Rabban Gamliel ka'amrinan. We're talking about every place where Rabban Gamliel said, basically, that he's in agreement and supports the view of Admon. Amar Rabbi Zera. So now we get another attempt to see. Amar Rabbi Zera says, Rabbi Zera Amar Rabba Bar Yirmiyah, in the name of Rabbi Yirmiyah. Now, what happens here? Shtei dvarim she'amar Chanan halacha kiyotzei bo. In two instances, two statements made by Chanan, the law is like the one who, I'm going to use the word, supports him. Okay? So that would be basically Rabban Gamliel or Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Okay? Shiva dvarim. Okay? 7 things, she'amar Admon, that Admon said, ein halacha kiyotzei bo. The law is not like him or the one who supports him. Okay? So we had, remember, a series of items that Admon said, and okay, all right, and we're going to eventually see those in more detail. But the point right now is, okay, at what the Gemara is trying to clarify, at what point do we say the law supports the views of Admon? Okay, my Kamar, what it was. So in other words, what is Rabbi Zera really saying here when he made this statement? So now we got to try to understand Rabbi Zera's explanation, where he claims, that's why I say claims, that 2 items were like Hanan and his supporter, 7 were not. Okay?
But no, the 7 were Admon,
Right.
and we don't hold right.
But, right?
According
So what
to
happens? What happens? Ilema, if we say Hachi Ka'amar, this is what Rabbi Zera was saying. Shnei dvarim she'amar Achanan. The 2 things that Hanan said, halacha kimoto kiyotzebo. In those situations, the law is like him and the one who supported him. Vishivad dvarim, and 7 things she'amar Admon, that Admon said, ein halacha kimoto velo kiyotzebo. The law is not like him, nor is it like the one who supported him. V'ha'amar Rabbi Yitzchak bar Elazar, but did not Rabbi Yitzchak ben Elazar, Mishmei de Chizkiah, in the name of Chizkiah, raise the following: Kol makom she'amar Rabban Gamliel, any place where Rabban Gamliel says, Ro'eh ani et divrei Admon halacha k'moto, that he's in favor of the words of Admon, the law is like him. Ela hachi ka'amar, but rather this is what he seems to be saying. Shnei dvarim she'amar Chanan halacha k'moto ukiyotzebo, that the 2 things where Chanan, okay, which said by Chanan, the law is like him and the one who supports him. Shiva dvarim she'amar Admon, but 7 things that Admon said, ein halacha kiyotzebo. The law is not like the one who supports him. Hakmoto halacha b'kulhu. If that's the case, then it would appear that the law is like him in all the situations. Va'amar Rabbi Yitzchak ben Elazar. But Rabbi Yitzchak ben Elazar says in the name of Chizkiah, okay, Kol ma she'amar Rabban Gamliel, every place where Rabban Gamliel says, Ro'eh ani et divrei Admon, that I see the view of Admon, or favor the view of Admon, halacha k'moto, is that the law like him in those cases? Amar, if Rabban Gamliel says it, and yes, that is the case. Lo Amar, if Rabban Gamliel did not say that, okay, lo, then it's not, the law is not like him. Ela hachi kama, but rather this is what he means to be telling us. Shnei dvarim she'amar Chanan halacha k'moto kiyotzebo, 2 things where Chanan said by Chanan, the law is like him and the one who supports him. Shiva dvarim she'amar Admon, 7 things that Admon said, yesh mehen shehalacha kemoto uyotsebo. There are some of them where the law is like him and the one who supports him. V'yesh mehen she'en halacha kemoto. And there are some of them where the law is not like him, ele kiyotsebo, but rather like the one who supports him. Okay, so the Gemara goes on. B'chol makom she'amar Rabban Gamliel, but every place where Rabban Gamliel has said, Ro'eh ani et divrei Admon, that I see favor the words of Admon, halacha k'moto, the law is like him, enach, the others, lo. No, that's not the case. That's the point. So ultimately, we're going to see that there were three examples where Admon's views are supported, one by Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai and two by Rabban Gamliel. So that's a total of three. But the other four statements that Admon says, his view is not accepted. Okay. Now,
In some way, I don't follow the specific statements, because it keeps saying there are four, there are three.
so we come to that's what our conclusion now. So what the Gemara is going to do now is bring a whole series of what the other statements between Admon and the sages, we haven't gotten. I'm going to,
This was the third reform.
right. So I'm going to take Ted's point and Michael's comment in this way. One might have thought that the Gemara or the editors of the Gemara, Ravina, could have presented all 7 cases. Okay, if I phrase your question that way, Ted, all 7 cases first, and then bring this discussion that we just saw. Why did they bring it here?
Well, they do really, because the Mishnayos are
Well,
continuous.
right,
and the
originally-
Gemara breaks
Right,
in.
originally, all the whole Mishnahs were together, and then came the whole Gemara. Okay, so from that point of view, Michael's comment is right in terms of the, let's say, original structure of Mishnah and Gemara. Okay. And another example that I would give is, why did they give the discussion here? Because they wanted to show this issue of the law being not so much based on Admon, but based on the person who supported him. Okay, that was one of the later Rishonim suggests that that's the basis why the argument was here, and only in 3 cases were there people who supported his view. And so that's why it came now after the discussion of the 3rd case, as opposed to after all 7. Okay, 10, but good question. Okay, let's go on now. All right, ha'orer al hasadeh. I found this particular piece a little bit more complicated. Okay, actually, it's a lot more complicated. Okay, so I've got a lot of notes here, guys, so bear with me. One is challenging the ownership of a field, claiming it belongs to him. Okay. Okay. The claimant, however, signed as a witness on the bill of sale, okay, to another person. V'hu chatum,
Between 2 brothers.
okay, v'hu chatum aleh ba'ed, and he is one of the witnesses on the document. Okay, so Heshi, okay, is claiming, okay, that when Ted sold the land to Mel, okay, the Gemara is raising the question, Heshi's name is one of the witnesses.
But he's now saying.
But
Ted
now,
stole
right,
it from
but
him.
now his claim is, okay, his claim is,
That Ted stole it from him.
right. And the whole question is, does his signature disprove, as a witness,
Use
disprove his claim?
Almost worked my name on.
That's the issue that the Gemara is ultimately trying to ask. Okay,
And what justification can he make?
right, we're
for
going to get
being
to
a
that.
witness if he claims that it's
We're
not,
gonna
they
get to
couldn't
that.
have the right to sell.
We'll
it
get
for
to that momentarily. Okay, so what happens? Okay, let's go on. Admon Omer says Admer, and I'm going to add here too. Admon is suggesting to us that the claimant, Heshi, might have thought the following approach as to why he signed on the document. Okay? Hasheni Noachli, the second person,
Meaning the
namely
new buyer.
the new buyer, Mel, in the example I gave, might be easier to work out an arrangement with,
He's a nice guy.
okay, as opposed to Harishon Kashehimenu, whereas the first guy, he's a hard bargainer, or both Art Scroll and Koren suggested he was a person capable of violence.
He's a roughneck.
Okay?
Hey,
All right? Okay. So I want us to see
Ben's got
again.
his baseball bat.
Okay, I want us to see, but that conceptually, Art Scroll and Koren are dealing with this Mishnah in the same approach. Okay? Okay, what goes on here? Okay. V'chachamim omrim, but the sages say, Ibeid et zechuto. Basically, he has lost, in other words, he has lost his claim, his merit. In other words, by signing on the document of sale, he has nullified his ability to make a claim on the land. Okay? Now, let's go on. Another kind of case, similar, but a little different. Asa'a siman la'acher. Okay? That he had used this land, okay, to make a designation for somebody else as to the boundaries of the property. He bade, and if he signed on that document of sale, he bade et zechuto. Again, he has lost his right for a claim. Right? Amar Abaye. So Abaye says, Lo shanu ela ed. They only taught this in regarding the fact that he signed as a witness. Aval dayan. But if he had signed it as a judge, lo ibed et zechuto. He did not lose his right to make a claim. Why? The Tani Rabbi Chia, as Rabbi Chia teaches, Ein ha'edim chotmim al ashtar ela im kein karuhu. Witnesses do not sign on the document unless they've read it through. But as we go to the new Amud, aval hadayanim chotmim afal pi shelo karahu. But judges can sign because they're simply, I'm going to say simply, testifying on the validity of the document in formality, but not on its content.
They're affirming the witnesses on that
Right.
signatures are legitimate.
Right? That it's a legitimate document done properly. Okay. Asa'a siman la'achen. What about the fact that our Mishnah said that he signed in a document that designated boundaries for another piece of land, neighboring piece of land? Amar Abaye, says Abaye, Lo shanu ela la'acher. They taught this only in regards to another, right? Aval la'atzmo. But if he did it for himself, lo ibed et zechuto, says Abaye. He did not lose his right to make the claim. Da'amar, why? Because he could say, Idelo avdele hachi. Had I not done this in this manner, lo hava mizabim la nehele. We wouldn't have signed it through. We wouldn't have gone through the transaction.
If I didn't make this, agree to this
Right.
as the line, Ted never would have sold it to me at
Right.
all.
Okay. So what happens? My eat lach b'meima. So what are you going to say then? Ibayale lemimsar moda. Okay, do you want that I should have made some sort of public announcement? In other words, that's how the arrangement, that was the only condition that I signed the document, is okay as a witness. So here's an interesting social comment. Chavrech chavra. Okay, your friend has a friend, idle. The chavrech chavra idle. And your friend's friend has a friend. In other words, ultimately, it would have gotten back. It would have been social discussion.
Back to Ted and he'd have
Right.
beat me up.
And then he would have either done something negative or he wouldn't have gone along with the sale. Okay? So the Gemara picks up. Hahu da asasi man la'acher. Okay, let's assume, all right, in this new piece, that one made this agreement and document and everything for somebody else. Ushachiv. He had a complaint and then he died. Right? Va'okim apotropo. Okay, and he established a steward, a guardian for the yatomim, for the heirs.
Before he died.
Okay.
Just before he died.
All right, and so we're going to see a statement now. Okay, Ata apotropos lekame da Abai. The steward or guardian came before Abai, Amarle, and he said to him, Asa asi man la'acher. Abaye tells him, if he made this arrangement, okay, and signed the document regarding the boundary of the land for somebody else, he has lost his right to make a claim. He made it zichuto. Amar. So now the apotropos responds to Abaye. Ihava avoharim diyat mekayam. Were the father to still be alive, right? Havataon, he could have made the following claim, right? Va'amar talem echad asiti lach. He said, I made a furrow on the land, which would have clarified where the boundary would be. Okay? Amarle, so Abaye responds, Shapir ka'amart. You've said something very appropriate. Da Amar Rabbi Yochanan, as Rabbi Yochanan has taught, Im ta'an va'amar telem echad asiti lach ne'aman. Right? If he said, if his claim was that he set aside a furrow of land in order to designate the border of the lands, then he's to be believed. Zil havle mihat telem echad. Go then and give him that one furrow of land. Okay. Hava Allah richva dedikle. But the Gemara then tells us, but it happens that on the edge of the land there was a hedge or a line of palm trees, and he didn't want to lose those palm trees for the orphans. Okay. Amarle, he said to them, again, the guardian, Ihava avuham diyat mekayim, were the father of the orphans still alive. Havatain, he could have claimed, Va'amar chazarti v'lakachti mimenu, that I went and I bought it back from him. Amarle, Abaye responds, Shapir ka'amart. Again, you spoke correctly. Da'amar Rabbi Yochanan, as Rabbi Yochanan has said, Im ta'an va'amar chazati l'kachtiv mimenu. If his claim is that I went back and I purchased it from him, ne'aman, he's to be believed. Amar Abaye, and now Abaye tells us, Haiman demokim apotropa, such that when a person, okay, or we could say it, this man that appointed this particular guardian, but the implication is when anyone has to appoint a guardian for the yatomim, right? Nokim kihai, one should appoint one like this individual. Diyada la'afuche b'zechuta diyatme, because he knows how well it to advocate on behalf of the orphans. Okay, so it's a praise on the part of that person. Okay, we get.
It was introduced in the
Article,
in the art school, saying this is a real life instance.
which?
So I suppose maybe is that opposed to the others? The others.
Yeah, this is a Maisa Shahoya.
Yeah.
I mean, it
Okay.
happens all the time.
All right,
I would say-
but it's an
This one identifies as a real life instance.
right. Okay, so we'll get to the new Mishnah in a moment. Just a quick word of introduction. We're dealing here with the situation of a path through another field, okay, that belonged to somebody else. In other words, to get to my field, I have to walk through Bob's field. And I had a path that generally he would permit me to use. But what happened? Bob sells his field to Harvey. And now Harvey wants to take over that land and use it for his own use. So I have lost access to my field in that regard.
Yeah, he doesn't even have
How
to
does-
sell it. It could be that you were away for several
Well, that's what
years,
I'm going to get to.
grass grew in and nobody
I know
knows
in
where.
Torah,
Yeah.
It happened, I went with Torah over something similar, and the person who bought the property wanted to.
Okay, all right. So in this case, I use the example of the sale, but Michael's point is right. What we're going to see here in our Mishnah, Mi shalach Medinat Hayam, okay, that the person went on a
very
long
long
trip, whether it could have been business, whatever. But during the time that he was gone, it could have been that the path
Half grew, dirt
grew back,
was-
whatever.
Now
right?
they
For
don't
what
know
happened?
exactly where it
Right.
was.
Va'avda derech sadehu. And as a result, okay, he lost knowledge of where the path was. Okay? Admon Omer, says Admon, Yelech lo b'ktsara. He should find the shortest way that he could to get into his property. V'chachamim omrim, and this was a great quote, Yikneh lo derech b'meya mana. He should pay the current owner 100 mana,
Up to.
okay, up to a certain point to allow himself to establish a
of way.
path. Oh, yifrach ba'avir, or she hire a helicopter and land it. Okay,
And as he doesn't have an absolute right.
right. So what happens? Gemara tells us, "My Talmud the Rabbanan." What was the reasoning of the rabbis that they gave that kind of an answer? Shapir ka'amar Admon. After all, it would appear that Admon's answer is really
Correct.
worthy. Okay. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, says Rav Yehuda in the name of Rav. What kind of situation can we imagine? Okay, in this example. Kigon shehekifuha arba'a b'nei adam me'arba ruchotah. Okay, that my land is in the middle of 4 other people's lands. Okay, it's Ted on one side, Pesci on another, Michael on another, Mel on another.
You're not getting through me. Good.
Okay, all right. So that's the example that he's. That's the example the Gemara wants us. Okay, and we're going to see. I'm jumping slightly ahead. That all are going to claim that the path was not through their property. Okay, so what happens?
Hence,
Right?
now,
Ihachi, if that's the case, ma'itama der admon. Were that to be the situation, then what's the reasoning behind Admon's answer? Amar Rabba, says Rabba, ba'arba'a da'atu mikoach arba'a. He says, then we would have that problem if you had 4 people who gave it, sold it to 4 other people. Va'arba'a da'atu mikoach chad, or 4 that bought it from a single owner, previous owner. Kuli alma lo pligi. All right, in those cases, we would have no argument. Dimatse madchele, because in each case, they could argue and to push him off, saying, no, your path was not on my property. Okay? Ki pligi, where do they argue? Bechad da'ate mikoach arba, where we have a situation now where one owner bought all 4 of those parcels, surrounding parcels, from the 4 people. Admon Savar, Admon is of the following perspective. Mikoma kom, darka itli gabach. Nevertheless,
now,
okay.
for sure, the path
Right.
is through his.
right, sure, the path must have been through some part of your property. The Rabbanan Savre, but the rabbis are of the opinion the following: Ishatak, if you're quiet, shatakt, you can be quiet, and the implication being, we'll work out a pathway for you at a reasonable price. Both again, Art Scroll and Koren bring that as the explanation. Okay? Mahadarna, Shtar Lamarayu. Okay, Ve'ilo, and if not, says the current single owner, Mahadarna, Shtar Lamarayu. I will return the documents of sale to the 4 original owners.
And you'll have no.
And then you'll have no path. And then you've got to try to deal with 4 people instead of 1.
They pay me whatever-
All right.
Whatever I ask for.
Right.
or else I'm gonna-
Right? And the
Yeah, but
Gemara
no,
then,
'cause it says 100. In other words,
Up to
the
100.
Gemara is saying that even though he has the stronger position, he can't take advantage.
Right.
Because
Isn't
legally,
that what he's trying to do?
what?
Isn't that what he's trying to do?
No, he's trying to get legally, according to halacha, you have to give him a right of way. He
Right.
had it, he lost it.
Right.
Now you can technically brush him off by saying, I don't remember it being on my property, it was on the other guy's. And all 4 have that argument.
have that same.
So
argument.
he cannot enforce his theoretical right to
Right.
repair. So one of the owners says,
Pay up.
I'll grant you a right of way, you have to pay me. And the Mishnah said, but it can't be exorbitant by limiting it to the mana.
Okay, we'll see. Now, but what, right, but that's,
Yeah,
that's,
that's a threat.
that's the
He's not
threat
gonna
that
do
the single owner says to the person who's making the claim,
I'll
for the path.
subdivide the property.
okay? But what happens? Why is that problematic? Because the single owner could there say to the claimant, "Velo matzat le'ishto'abe dina bahadayu," and then you won't be able to
Have a path at all.
basically negotiate with them, the 4 of them. Hahu da'amar lo, and this one then said to them, Dikla lebarat. All right, we got a new piece from the Gemara, all right, which is going to give another twist to this kind of issue. There was a man who, in bequeathing property, said, I want this palm tree to go to the daughter. Okay? Azul Yatme, the heirs, then what did they do? Plog l'nichse, they divided up all the property. We're assuming that primarily land here,
And there is a palm tree on each.
right?
side.
Velo yahavu la dikla, and they did not give her a palm tree. Okay? Sava Rav Yosef Lamema. Rav Yosef thought in the following, Hainu matniten, that this case
It's
is
exactly
similar
the same.
to that of our mission. Amar le Abaye, but Abaye challenges Rav Yosef. Midami, are they really parallel? Hatam, there in that case, right? Kol chad v'chad, matze madchele. With the 4 owners, each one can push him off and say, no, the path wasn't in my land, it was in somebody else's land. Hacha, but in our current case of the palm tree, dikla gabayhuhu. Okay,
Each one has. a
all right,
palm.
the palm tree is in each case. In other words, one of the other shatim said each one of them has a portion in the palm tree, as if there was only one palm tree.
Okay, but
Okay.
the Rashi
No,
says
no,
Rashi said the guy owned a bunch of palm trees, and he said to his sons, when you divvy up the land, make sure
Yeah.
Rivka gets a tree.
right,
So now there's
But-
palm trees on everybody's property.
right, right.
So nobody can
But that-
claim it's not my palm tree to
Right,
give
right. So that was Rashi's view. That's how he paralleled it to the previous
case,
Mishnah. Okay,
or to the not parallel.
right, right. But that's why, that was how Rashi wanted to explain Rav Yosef's view
Right.
of how it could parallel.
Now, the other issue is that when they
But
divvied
that's-
it up equally.
No, but it doesn't work if you take Tosafot to somebody else who said, no, there was only one palm
tree.
tree. okay? I'm not challenging Rashi.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
just saying-
but either way, whatever now happened, since they each got an exactly equal share monetarily, one giving up a palm tree means he has a
Shouldn't
deficiency
see in his property,
inherit.
right? No,
What chesed?
doesn't, no, it's not a chesed.
It's not a chesed.
Because
the father ordered
The
it.
father said that was supposed to be, it was
It's not
not.
a
He
chesed.
stood up against the other brothers. The other brothers.
You'll see in a minute.
We'll see what happens now. Hold on. Okay, so the implication clearly is if, whether it's multiple palm trees or a single palm tree, whoever loses that palm tree means their amount of the Yerusha is less than the other brothers. And so we have a problem again. So what happens? Ma'ita kanaitu. What's the remedy? Lidvu lad dikla. Give her a palm tree. V'lahadru v'lifluge miresha. And go back and divide it up all
So
over
it's
again.
equally.
Right?
So that would work with the debt.
Okay.
No,
No.
no, you can't.
If you're giving somebody a path through your land, the other three owners.
No, it's not the
No,
parallel.
why, they don't have any skin in the game.
No, the implication is they were told by their father that that's how he wanted the property
And
divided
they
up,
ignored it.
and they ignored his final statement.
It's like you buy a piece of property. It may, if you buy a piece of property, I don't know if this would be the case, but in one of the very far back associations, the Florida Power and Light has a right of way. Okay, so you do not own that association the last 6
But
feet.
that's not the case at all.
No, it is the case because you're saying to come to Yarmouth and say Yarmouth should compensate Hyacinth. Hyacinth has to negotiate with Florida Power and Light a value of their right of way. That's what the path case.
Oh, Florida Power Light is in another world from here.
Yeah, but
No, it's exactly the
It's,
same.
that would be the parallel. You're right. That would be good.
All right. It's
Okay, let's finish up. Hahu da amar laho.
They have to plan for this.
Okay, all right. So another example. Okay, says the following. Dikla lebrat. Okay, he says, give the palm
Grow a
tree to
palm
the
tree.
daughter. Shachiv, right? He dies. V'shavik trey palge de dikla. And they left 2 halves of palm trees.
plus others.
Okay. 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 So what happened here? Corin's explanation was there were 2 halves because it was shared with a partner. Okay, that was its view. All right. So what happens?
I still say so.
Okay. So what happens? Yativ Rav Ashi, v'kakashile. So Rav Ashi sat and questioned. Mikaro inshe the palge dikla olo. Do people normally consider 2 halves of a palm tree like a single tree or not? Amarle, he said, Rav Mordechai says to Rav Ashi, Hachi amar abimi mehagronia mishmei de Rava. So says Abimi from Hagronia in the name of Rava. Karu inshe letre palge dikla, that people do consider normally 2 half palm trees
To
the
be on.
equivalent of a single one. And we're going to stop right there. Tomorrow we'll pick up with the new Mishnah on Kafyu. Okay.
And we're winding
Okay,
down.
Ruvain, good to see you. Feel better. All right.
Whatever they want. We learned that, we learned that reason. Hands and tools has been posed for months now, because